When it comes to identifying whether an early medieval Welsh king was great or had a significant impact on Welsh history through advancements in laws, warfare, or the further development of Welsh society, we can look for a specific title, the King of the Britons, as this title is used by chronicles to identify Welsh kings who had achieved significant recognition, as most early Welsh kings are simply names on a genealogical list. There have been several kings of the Britons, some historical like Rodri the Great, or legendary, for example Brutus of Troy or King Arthur. In this long series on early medieval Wales, we've already covered several kings that were described as such, from Cadwalladen's conquest of Northumbria to the heroic exploits of Ambrosius Aurelianus. But as we've been exploring these historical figures and others such as the saints, we've been steadily moving towards the end of the early Middle Ages to the High Middle Ages in 1000 AD. As we started from the withdrawal of the Romans from Albion to the Vikings in Wales from the start of the 8th century, and during that period we briefly looked at some of the great kings of Wales and how they dealt with the Viking raids and settlements. From this point of 850 to 999 AD, we have 4 great kings of Wales to cover, and the final one's reign conveniently ends in 999 AD, the last year of the early Middle Ages. Rodri the Great. We've already shown Rodri's fight with the Vikings and how his victory over the Black Gentiles gained him fame and prestige. The Annals of Ulster, an Irish source, mentions Rodri in their chronicles in the year 856 AD. Horm, chief of the Dark Foreigners, was killed by Rodri, son of Mervyn, king of Wales. The Annals mention Rodri again in 877 AD. Rodri, son of Mervyn, king of the Britons, came in flight from the Dark Foreigners to Ireland. Rodri is referred to not only as King of the Britons, but also as King of Wales. This is the first time a Welsh ruler is called this title. At the height of Rodri's power, he would control most of Wales, although the unity was through Rodri acquiring the thrones from the death of his relatives. Powys in 856, after his uncle died in exile in Rome. Then in 871, the kingdom of Ceredigion upon the death of his brother-in-law. This unity would be used as a blueprint for later Welsh kings in building their own kingdoms, and also give descendants of Rodri a claim for the thrones of other Welsh kingdoms. Although information on Rodri's life is limited, the fact that he is mentioned in chronicles not native to Wales is a testament to his achievements that we know about, especially against the Vikings, as during this period there were not many kings in Albion that could boast they defeated the Vikings to the degree Rodri had. While the victory over the Vikings brought Rodri an increased power to project over Wales, it did strike fear into other Welsh kings in the south of Wales, particularly Dyfed and Brycheiniog, as during Rodri's successor's reign, these smaller kingdoms would seek the protection of Alfred, King of Wessex, showing Rodri had built a solid power base for his successors to use. By 865, Rodri had to contend with an old enemy of Wales, the Kingdom of Mercia, as their king launched raids into Rodri's territory around Anglesey. But the heydays of Mercian power were gone, and the arrival of the arguably best named army ever, the Great Heathen Army, invaded the Anglo-Saxon kingdoms, forcing the Mercian king to return home. This new wave of Viking invasions would see Rodri forced out of Gwynedd and exiled in Ireland in 877 for a short time before returning. Yet Rodri would die in battle in 878, the Welsh annals state. Rodri and his son Goriad is killed by the Saxons. The Annals of Ulster state, Rodri, son of Mervyn, king of the Britons, was killed by the Saxons. Anarawd ap Rodri. one of the many sons of Rodri the Great. Anarawd inherited Gwynedd, while Powys and Ceredigion went to his two brothers. Several different chronicles mention many sons of Rodri, yet the Welsh chronicles only mention 4, while Asser, the biographer of King Alfred of Wessex, mentions 6, of which Asser is the earliest source to mention the brothers, although he fails to name them. We should not be surprised, as a lack of information on the time period is a recurring theme in this series. Moving on. What's interesting about Anarawd's reign is that not only do we have information on his struggles against the Vikings, but also that he was in the midst of a diplomatic flurry between different parties, as there were new Viking kingdoms in the north of England, and with the English kingdom of Wessex now protecting the smaller Welsh kingdoms in the south, not just from the brothers, but also from Mercia. Anarawd sought an alliance with the Viking kingdom of York around the 880s, whilst working with his brothers. The details on which the brothers shared power or worked in cohesion with each other is unclear. From the Welsh annals, it's implied they worked together as one, whereas Gerald of Wales, a chronicler from the 12th century, mentions the brothers divided the lands between themselves. Regardless, the alliance with the pagan Vikings would not lead to a grand coalition against Wessex. And by the 890s, just like the other Welsh kings, Anarawd sought an alliance with King Alfred. Yet his position was stronger than the other Welsh kings, as when he met Alfred, he was given a high king's welcome, lavished with gifts and praise. After all, these two men were the strongest Christian monarchs in southern Albion, and uniting against the pagan warband of Norsemen seeking to conquer would ensure better success at defending their kingdoms. Alfred, King of Wessex, was now overlord of the Welsh kingdoms, but the details on what kind of arrangement Alfred had with the Welsh are lost to us. The notion of a King of Wessex and later Kings of England having overlordship over Wales would have dire consequences for the Welsh in the future. With the kingdoms of Wales in league with Wessex and its allies, protection from Norse attacks would be easier to defend. Yet Anarawd took to using his new allies' strength to raid his rivals in South Wales. From the Annals of Wales. Anarawd came with the Angles and laid waste Ceredigion and Ystrad Tawi. Why Alfred turned a blind eye to his newest ally raiding the smaller Welsh kingdoms who had sought Alfred's protection in the first place is up for debate. In 905, the kings of Dyfed had died out, as their last king passed away in 904. The deceased king's brother sought to succeed him, but was beheaded in 905. This left Dyfed vulnerable. Anarawd and his brother Cacdesh invaded. Cacdesh's heir, Hywel, then became king. That's one story of how Dyfed was taken by the heirs of Rodri. The other tale is that Hywel married the only surviving daughter of the king of Dyfed. Hywel would inherit his father's kingdom in 910. There are no reported conflicts between Anarawd and his nephew. In 916, Anarawd died, with the title of King of the Britons being bestowed upon him by the Welsh annals. Anarawd, King of the Britons, dies. Hywel Dda, grandson of Rodri the Great. Hywel carried on his family's legacy of both King of Wales and King of the Britons. He was also the founder of a new kingdom in Wales, Deheubarth, consisting of Dyfed, Ceredigion, and later, in 930, the minor kingdom of Brycheiniog. Hywel is a unique early medieval Welsh king, as due to his continued alliance with the Kingdom of Wessex and later the Kingdom of England, he had access to a mint in Chester, creating his own silver coinage, the first Welsh king to do so. He was also a spiritual and pious king, travelling to Rome as a pilgrim, a rare feat as the journey would have taken months. implying that his kingdom was safe for the trip in 928 AD. Later sources even go on to state that Hywel made a return trip to Rome to get his laws blessed by the Pope. Hywel is famous for not only being granted the title of King of Wales and King of the Britons, but also his legacy in the laws of Wales being connected to his reign. The tale of how the laws were codified is that Hywel and the leading men of learning in his kingdoms gathered at Whitland in South Wales. These laws already existed centuries before Hywel's reign. This council was certifying them into legal customs. These laws covered a wide range of social, economical and justice, as well as laws for people of different ranks in Welsh society. There were three types of classes in early Middle Ages Welsh society. The free men, which included the king. These men had ownership of lands and livestock. Next were the unfree people, or subject people. And the last class with absolutely no rights were the slaves. For foreign people living in Wales, they were classed under as astid. These laws represented the development of the Welsh language and the culture during the early Middle Ages in Wales. The existing manuscripts we have detailing the laws are dated from the 13th century onwards, with the earliest copy being in Latin, although other copies are written both in Latin and Welsh. There exists 42 copies of the laws, with 36 written in Welsh and the other 6 in Latin. Hywel's title of the Good, like most titles, is attributed to historical figures at a later date. The same is true for him. The Welsh annals call him the Good, but the annals were comprised years after his death. His title is most likely given through his cataloguing of Welsh laws, as during his reign the kingdoms under his rule prospered. The attacks from the Vikings during Hywel's reign were limited, as we have no records of them attacking Welsh kingdoms. Even the kingdom of the English never attacked the Welsh during this time. Hywel kept to his predecessors' agreements with the English. This attitude was not shared by all Welsh folk. A poem written in the 930s called for all native people of Albion and Ireland to unite and drive out the Saxons, with one line regarding the English: how it is that they do not burst forth because of the dominion of the English and their boasting. During Hywel's later reign, he acquired the kingdom of Gwynedd in 942 upon the death of his cousin, who sought to break free from any agreement with the English. Yet he met his death in battle, and Hywel took advantage and conquered the kingdom, making him now the undisputed master of Wales, with only the small kingdoms of Gwent and Glywysing not under his control. Hywel died in 950, and he certainly earned the title of King of Wales and King of the Britons, as he followed his grandfather in being named King of Wales from an abroad chronicle, the Annals of Ulster. Hywel, King of Wales, dies. Maredudd ap Owain, grandson of Hywel, our final great king of Wales. Maredudd's claim to the title of King of Wales comes from his territorial conquest, as after the death of his grandfather, the kingdoms Hywel accumulated went to different branches of his family, with Gwynedd and Powys returning to Hywel's uncle Anarawd's line. Maredudd's reign also saw the rise in Viking attacks upon Wales, and diplomatic relations with the kings of the English breaking down, so much so that Maredudd even tried the folly of allying with the Norsemen of Dublin. This alliance didn't work out, but despite this turbulent time in Wales, Maredudd managed to recreate his grandfather's legacy of most of Wales under one king. He acquired Deheubarth upon the death of his father and elder brother in 986, showing far more aggression than his grandfather, as he invaded Gwynedd and killed his distant cousin in the same year. Yet the attacks by the Norsemen pushed him back to Deheubarth. This was not the only threat, as in 992, a claimant to the throne named Edwin, with the backing of an English army, invaded. This attempt failed. Maredudd faced many threats to his power until his death in 999 AD. The Chronicle of the Princes is the chronicle that grants Maredudd the title of King of Wales. With Maredudd's death, the early Middle Ages in Wales ended. The High Middle Ages would see the Welsh take on a familiar foe in a different guise in 1066, with the arrival of the Normans after their conquest of England. Yet the High Middle Ages would see the whole of Wales united under one king for the very first time. Thank you all for watching, and a big thank you to the Vlogbrothers for supporting this channel with the Educational Creators Fund.